Hello once again, watchers of good TV. My name is Nick Pell, and we are going to talk about Season 5B of Breaking Bad. Yes, this show is done. It has ended. I'll be talking about the last episode after the credits of this video, so stay tuned to that if you want to see my thoughts on that. And we are going to talk about the last season of this amazing show, or at least the last part of the last season of this amazing show. So that's the thing. Just FYI, there will be spoilers in this video about Season 5 because I'm going to talk about it, so keep that in mind. Getting right down into it, the show continues to follow ex-chemistry teacher Walter White, who is now a meth kingpin. When Season 5A ended, it had him retired. He was living with his family, just kind of letting the business take hold of itself, and trusted it to Todd and to Lydia, basically. And yeah, he's out, except at the end of 5A, we have Hank, who puts the pieces together in his head and realizes that Walter White is Heisenberg. And so that sets up this whole new season. The first episode, Blood Money, is basically Hank figuring out everything that has happened, and it ends with him and Walter getting into something of a fist fight. And it escalated so quickly that I think myself and a lot of fans were just really surprised with how quickly this happened. We thought, or at least I thought, that they were going to take the most of the season to get to Hank kind of putting the pieces together for sure, and then confronting Walter about it, and all this type of stuff. No, it escalates right away. Hank is aware of this, and we get to see how that progresses throughout the season. And we do. Hank is basically keeping this to himself because he knows that the DEA, if they find out that his brother-in-law was this meth kingpin and he had no idea about it when he was hanging out with this guy the whole time, that's going to make him look bad, and he doesn't want that. He needs to have for sure evidence before he brings this to anybody. And for that, he tries to threaten Walter White into giving himself up. Walter and Skylar, and then Hank and Marie, they go to dinner at this like really awkward dinner situation, and Walt gives him this confession tape, and it's basically Walt blackmailing him. It's him going on camera and saying that Hank was the mastermind behind this whole thing. Walt cooked for him, but that's it. He was basically forced into doing all of this, and so Hank's in a bit of a bind until he comes across Jesse Pinkman once more. Jesse has been brought into custody because he was throwing money all over the neighborhood, and he crashed into, I think, a tree. I don't remember exactly, and then he was just found going around at playground equipment, and he's brought into questioning the two annoying guys who have been interrogating him throughout the series. They try to get him to talk. He's saying nothing, and Hank goes in. He basically tells Jesse, "I know that Walt is Heisenberg, and he kind of figures that Walt has done some messed up stuff, and Jesse is aware of all this messed up stuff, and he wants nothing more than to bring down Walt." And so that's what he tries to do. And Jesse ends up partnered with Hank and Gomez. He tells them everything, and now they have to get Walter White set up. Once Walt starts to figure out that Jesse is becoming a problem, and he's kind of going on a wild spree, he wants Jesse taken out. Jesse, knowing that his options are very limited, and he takes what money he has, and he goes to a place where the car guy would pick him up and take him to somewhere else and give him a new personality, not a new personality, but a new identity, and just set him up with a new life. Right before he's about to do that, he takes out a cigarette. He realizes that one is missing, and from that, he somehow deducts that Walt was the one who poisoned Brock with the ricin because Jesse had the ricin cigarette. From there, he goes and beats up Saul, and he basically tries to set Walt's house on fire before Hank confronts him. He's like, "Hey, we should team up," and so they do, and that leads us to a confrontation with Walt in the desert. At first, it seems like Walter White is done because he is tricked into going there. He basically confesses to everything because he's trying to justify everything that he's done to Jesse, and he goes to the desert, and he realizes that Jesse has not found his money, and none of it's true. It's all set up. He sees Hank, Gomez, and Jesse in the car. He calls off his goons, the neo-Nazis, and he basically gives himself up to Hank, and this is Hank's highest point that he's gotten to. This is the goal that he was striving for throughout the whole series. He finally achieves it, but not before it's taken right from under him. And this was something I could kind of see happening. He calls Marie because he's finally met this goal, and she believes that, oh, he's won. He's got Walt. It's all hunky-dory now. And then right when Walt is being loaded into the car, he's been read his rights, he's got handcuffs on him, Hank has achieved everything he needs to achieve. Jack's guys show up, and even though Walt has called them off, Walt tries to warn Hank to go and try to get away as soon as he possibly can. A shootout happens, and that is where the end of that episode leaves, just a shootout. We start the episode Ozymandias from there. This is the third to last episode, and I love that scene, or the first part of that episode before the opening credits, was a reenactment of Walt and Jesse's first cook. It shows how far they've come, how much has changed for these two characters since their original cook, and what they originally intended this whole thing to be. And so they get past that scene, you go back to the shootout, we see that Gomez has been killed. I don't like that we didn't get to see that, but it's still been done. And Hank is wounded, his leg has been shot. He sees that a shotgun is laying fairly close to him. He tries to crawl to it. Jack's men come up, they throw it, they take it away from him. Hank knows that he is done. Walt is still pleading for his life, or for Hank's life. He's trying to stop Jack from doing it, even though Jack knows that this guy is DEA, and he has... Walt tries to tell them where his money is, and he does that in an attempt to spare Hank's life, and Hank points out the obvious. He knows that he's done. He knows this guy is going to kill him regardless, and he tells Walt, dude, you're the smartest guy I know, but you're also one of the dumbest. This guy made up his mind 10 minutes ago. And Hank goes out like a man. He doesn't beg for his life. He takes it. He knows he's done. He accepts it. And Hank is killed. And Walt is just devastated by this. And we see his inner Heisenberg start to kind of emerge a little ways after that, after he mourns for Hank for a few minutes. He stands up, he shakes Jack's hand, and he points out where Jesse is. And this was a point where I thought Jesse was going to get killed. So they have him on his knees, there's a gun to his head, Walt wants him dead, and then Meth Damon, Todd, he just comes in and he saves Jesse by pointing out the fact that they should figure out what Jesse told the DEA and just see if there's anything else that they need to deal with. So they take Jesse. Walt is given just a barrel of his $80 million, so he only has about $9 million to his name. Only $9 million. From here, the season just takes off. We see Walt lose everything from this point. He's lost his brother-in-law, and then very slowly after that he loses his family. We see that Skyler and Walt Jr., they're terrified of him, and Walt Jr. learns the truth about his father. He just hates him from this point forward, and when the knife battle, or when the knife struggle happens, I thought one of them was going to get killed. I think everybody did, because there's somebody who's going for the knife, and it's just a huge, huge thing. And then that's where Walt realizes, I've lost my family, and he takes off, and that's where the episode ends. And we get to the last episode. It's Grant Slade. Walt is basically taken to a place in like a snowy area with a lone cabin, and it's basically where he has to stay and live out the rest of his life, and he hates this. We see Walter White at one of his lowest depths, and when he's asking the guy who's visiting him to just, like, he'll pay him $10,000 to just stay for another hour or two and play cards with him. That's Walter White at his lowest. He's getting chemo, he's helpless, and he's dying. And I love the end of this episode where Walt tries to call Walt Jr., and Walt Jr. basically tells him he's dead to him. So that crushes that hope, and then he's ready to give himself up to the cops. He sits down at the bar, and he sees Elliot and Gretchen on the TV, and they basically say that Walter White had very, very little to do with gray matter, and we know that Walter White was one of the main people behind the creation of it, and it basically tugs at his pride. His pride is the only thing that really he cares about at this point, and it's what embraces his inner Heisenberg, and that's what creates a drive in Walter White to continue going onwards. I also love at the end of the episode where they start playing the theme song of the entire show. I thought that was great, and it totally got everybody excited for the finale. And so that's where I'm going to leave this as a season. I loved Breaking Bad Season 5B. I thought it's amazing, and its finale, which I'll talk about shortly, just ends the show perfectly, and I thought they could not have done a better job about it. So, if you want to hear me talk about the finale in depth and my thoughts on it, stay tuned after the credits of this video. Like I said, overall, loved this part of the season of Breaking Bad, and I'm very sad that the show has ended, but I'm really happy that I was along for the ride. So yeah, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. I'd appreciate it immensely. And as always, my good people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching. And if you are still watching, you are here to see my thoughts on the ending to Breaking Bad Season 5B. This is the finale episode for Dina, and here we go. It opens with Walter White in his car. It's covered with snow, and we see the red and blue lights flashing all around him. He's just thinking to himself, just get me home and I'll do the rest. And the cops go by him, and they don't even realize that there's anyone in the car, I think. And he finds the keys at the roof, and he takes off, and he gets back. But he makes a pit stop at Gretchen and Elliot's place. And myself, and I think most people, thought that he was going there to kill them and get revenge for them, basically talking down about him. And he does basically the exact opposite. He puts the fear of God in them for the rest of their life, though. He basically asks them to give all of his money to his son on his 18th birthday in about 10 months in a non-revocable trust fund, and they promised to do this, but I'm pretty sure they would have just called the cops and told them everything that happened if Walter had not done what he did next. He signaled to his two assassins, and they put the red dots on them to make it seem like there were snipers right on them, and he just puts the fear of God in them. He tells them that if they do not do this, there will be one day in a week, in a day, in a year, in a month, that they'll just be taking a walk, and eventually someone will just kill them, and they'll have no way of seeing it coming. And this isn't true, but it puts the fear of God in them, and he knows that will guarantee that Walter Jr. gets the $9 million to do with it as he pleases. I love that they brought back Badger and Skinny Pete for this, just to give them a one-word part in the show. And they played their parts well. They both got like $200,000 each, which is way too much money to pay for a laser pointer show, but that was a great part. Walt kind of figures out that Jesse is still alive from them, and then from there, he goes to the cafe. He meets up with Lydia and Todd. They have no way of knowing that he was going to be there. He just kind of shows up. He begs for an audience with Jack so that he can discuss a new method of cooking that he has, because they're running out of methylene, supposedly. Yeah, they basically kind of shoo him away. They don't want to deal with him. Then we have the closing of the ties, pretty much. He goes and sees Skylar. This is a very good conversation because for the first time in Walter's life, he tells the truth. Well, not the first time in his life, but the first time of this series, he tells the truth. He realizes why he's done this. It hasn't been just for his family. In the beginning, that's what it started out as. But as he got deeper and deeper into it, he realizes that he did it for himself. He enjoyed doing the cooks. He enjoyed being powerful. He enjoyed developing this pride and this second self in Heisenberg. And he admits that to himself, and Skylar finally sees the truth, and she, it seems like she more or less forgives him for everything, because he came back, she lets him see Holly, and he leaves in peace, and he has one last look at Walt Jr., and then he goes. And we have the final scene, which is with Jack, and he drives up, he positions his car so strategically, just in the front of the house, and he goes in. Jack wants to kill him, and before he's able to drag Walter White out the back, Walt calls him out. He says that he still has Jesse, that he's partners with Jesse, and Walt asks him to kill him instead, and this hurting Jack's pride. He has Todd bring Jesse in, and Walt was originally probably going to take out Jesse because he thought that he was just cooking for Jack. He wasn't really a prisoner. He sees Jesse. He sees the decrepit form that he is in. He's a shell of a human being at this point, and he sees this, and I'm pretty sure he just feels sorry for him. He realizes that everything that has happened to Jesse, including this, has all been Walt's fault, and he sees this, and so he tackles him. Well, he tackles him, and so he tackles him, and they're on the ground flat. Todd jumps down to try to break them apart. Well, activates the switch, which activates the machine gun and takes out everybody. All the Nazis are dead, except for Jack, who's just clinging to life barely, Todd, who had been ducked down, and then Jesse and Walt. And then we have the last two deaths of the show. And we have Todd, who's just astounded by what has just happened. And he looks out the window, and he sees that it wasn't like a person who attacked him, it was a device in Walt's car. And he's just surprised that this has happened, and then Jesse just takes him down. He strangles him with the chains which have binded him for so long, and he just gets all of his revenge in this killing of Todd. Todd has imprisoned him. He has shot the kid on the bike, which went against every moral that Jesse had. He killed Jesse's girlfriend, and this guy, almost more so than Walter White, was Jesse's biggest enemy, and just taking out Todd was kind of vengeance for this whole ordeal. I mean, after that, we have Walt. He sees Jack. He points the gun at him. Jack's like, "Wait, you want your money, right? If you kill me, you'll never find..." And then he kills him. Walt is done with money. He knows that he's dead. He knows that he's going to die. He got shot by a ricocheted bullet when the machine gun was going off. He kills Jack. He confronts Jesse, slides the gun over to him. Jesse picks it up. He could have killed him. He doesn't, because he wants Walt to say, I want you to do this. I want to die." Walt says this. Jesse sees that he's shot. He knows that he would be doing Walt a service by killing him. And so he drops it, and he says, "Do it yourself." And I really enjoyed how they did that. I almost expected Jesse to take out Walt and then some dramatic music to start playing, but I like the way that they did it, because when Jesse's about to get into the car and leave, him and Walt make eye contact, and it almost seems like there's something of a mutual understanding and respect between the two of them. And I don't know, as limited as their friendship is at this point, I think there is still a respect and an acknowledgement by Jesse's part that he did spare his life, and I think that's something that Jesse is grateful for. He drives off, breaks through the fence, and he drives off into the Need for Speed movies. Before that, Lydia calls, and I love the song that Todd had for the ringtone, and then find out that Lydia was the one who got poisoned by the ricin. Walt snuck it into her coffee drink, and so Lydia is taken care of from there. And then from there, Walter goes into the meth lab that Jesse was trapped in. He goes around, he finds himself in the one place that he was always happiest, cooking in a lab. And we see in the background cops coming up the hill. We see him just walking around. He touches one of the canisters. We see his reflection, and then as he falls away, the blood print on the canister is in the shape of a W, which I thought was really neat to do. And last shot is Walter White dead on the ground, just spread out with something of a smile on his face, because this is the place that he was happy, and he went out on his own terms. Walter White won, in my opinion. He did everything, he ended everything like he wanted to, maybe not in the exact way as he originally planned, but given the circumstances, Walter White did the unimaginable. He got the money to his son and his family, and he took out everybody he needed to take out. He finished all ties with everybody that needed to be taken care of, and in the end, Walter White won, and I think that's what the majority of the fans were rooting for. We didn't want to see him get just taken out by Jack or just by Jesse, and then Jesse walk away as the hero. You know, that would have been a very interesting ending. But yeah, overall, very good season finale. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, an amazing show and a great way to end the show in general. So that is my thoughts on the ending to Breaking Bad, and leave your thoughts down below if you so choose. I would love to hear them. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. I'd appreciate it immensely. And once again, my good people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.